3, 2, 1, attention, go, and we're off. A little water splashing around at the start of this 3V lightweight 8 race. But crews are level as they come by our media launch. Princeton actually starting to get a little more traction in the second 10 of their start. Princeton has a deck over Navy. As Navy is struggling a little bit more with the windy conditions. Got about a 7-mile-per-hour headwind, but glassy conditions in this first 500. Princeton is shifting now to their base cadence. They've got about a deck, maybe a deck and a seat over Navy. Princeton Coxon looking across at Navy's 6th seat. As Princeton shifts down, Navy's staying high and is getting a little bit of that margin back that they lost on the start. Through the 250, we still have Princeton by well, now they're extending out again, 1/3 of a length. Princeton by a 1/3 of a length over Navy in this 3V lightweight 8 race. Navy Coxon calling for a press, trying to get his crew back on terms with Princeton in the early goings of this 3V lightweight race. We're approaching the 500. Princeton's calling for a move. Princeton Coxon pressing through the 500. It is still Princeton by a 1/2 of a length as they come through the 500 in 1:33. Little slow conditions out here in this opening weekend. Got cold water, strong headwind. Not going to make for fast times. Records will not be set today. Princeton on their move from the 500 has extended to a 2/3 length lead over Navy. Stroke seat of Princeton has the Navy bow ball. Coxon's calling for bow ball. Princeton Coxon wants that bow ball. He wants to shut this race down early on. Navy Coxon's trying to get something together to respond to this race. And Princeton is calling for another move early as we come through. 750 down. That Navy bow ball is right between the stroke seat and Coxon of the Princeton 3V lightweights. As we saw earlier in the day, no margin is safe. If these guys can get to open, we'll feel a lot more comfortable. Those Navy guys in the bow 4 can still see Princeton out of their peripheral vision, but if Princeton can break open, that would be a huge mental advantage for Princeton and really tough to come back for the Navy midshipmen. Still sitting with that bow ball, the Navy bow ball, right in between the Coxon and stroke of Princeton. Coxon of Princeton is calling for just a short 5-stroke burst to try to get a couple of feet more, but now Navy is on the move. They're getting their bow ball back into 7 seat. It's Princeton through the 1,000 in 3:13. So a little bit slower second 500. This third 500 is going to be the toughest. Wind is starting to pick up as the course opens up here. Crews are still sitting right where they have been for about the last 600 meters. Navy has their bow ball right around the Princeton stroke seat. If Navy can just maybe get a seat or two, they might be able to get some traction and pull back up on terms with Princeton. But right now, it is still Princeton, 3/4 of a length or so, with Navy's bow ball right on their 7 and stroke seat. Coming into 7:50 to go at 4 minutes, 4 seconds. Princeton holding Navy's bow ball on their stroke seat. Princeton Coxon calling for another press, trying to get that open water advantage, that huge mental advantage of open water. They still can't get it. Navy is hanging in there with the Tigers, keeping their bow ball pressed into the 7 seat now of Princeton. Navy looks like they're starting to actually sharpen up as we come and approach the last 500. Princeton still in control of this race. They got their margin early on in that first 500, but have just sat. It's dangerous to sit when you get this 1 length lead or just shy and not break to open water. through the 500 to go mark in 4:54. It is Princeton still, almost a length over Navy. Navy getting their bow ball right on the stroke seat of Princeton with 4:50 to go. Princeton's calling the cadence up. Navy is trying to respond. Princeton Coxon calling the sprint early, calling for more power with 3:50 to go. As much as she's calling it, they're not giving it to her. They're not getting much more traction to get any more margin. That bow ball is sitting stagnant right on the stroke seat. If Navy can start to take the cadence up, they might be able to take a shot at this lead. But they're going to run out of room pretty soon as we're at 2:50 to go, and that margin is still Princeton almost a full length over Navy. They've got deck overlap, trying to get their bow ball back into Princeton. Princeton calling for a move. Navy taking the cadence up. Navy's getting a little bit caught up in the wind, but they're still moving in on Princeton. They've got their bow ball up to 6 feet of Princeton. They're getting traction now. They're on the move. Will it be too little, too late? We're at 120 meters to go with Princeton leading by 2/3 of a length. I think this might be too little, too late for Navy as they still charge a little bit, but Princeton sees them as able to control this race. It will be Princeton taking this race by about 2/3 of a length in this first race of the lightweight program.